And God chose your kind as the object of his love. I was the first in all heaven to bow down before you. My love, my hope for mankind was no less than his. But I have watched you trample that gift. I've watched you kill each other over race and greed, wage war over dust and rubble and the words in old books. And yet in the midst of all this darkness, I see some people who will not be bowed. I see some people who will not give up, even when they know all hope is lost. Some people who realize that being lost is so close to being found.
Happy heresies, and welcome to the desert of the real. Welcome, my son, to the machine and the means to escape it. Welcome to the ability to dream your own dream, and not the ones implanted in you by the mediocre and ignorant, who rule existence after they broke your heart, will, and hope.
Don't worry, number 6. You'll be cured. I'll see to it. No more nightmares. If you have so much as a bad dream, you will come whimpering to tell it to me. Whimpering!
Welcome with kindness and love to Aeon Byte Gnostic Radio, formerly known as Coffee, Cigarettes, and Nooses, and formerly transmitted in the blood meridian wastelands of atheism.
A hero properly is someone who has given his life to something bigger than himself or other than himself.
So in all of these cultures, whatever the costume the hero might be wearing, what is the deed?
Well, there are two types of deed. One is the physical deed, the hero who has performed a war act or a physical act of heroism, saving a life. That's a hero act. Giving himself, sacrificing himself to another. And the other kind is the spiritual hero who has learned or found a mode of experiencing the supernormal range of human spiritual life, and then come back and communicated it.
This is the Aeon Byte interview, and with us we have the pleasure of being joined by Luke Myers to discuss his book, Gnostic Visions, Uncovering the Greatest Secret of the Ancient World. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'm doing good.
Thank you very much for joining us again. And without giving too much of the plot away, because we got quite a bit to talk about, tell us about the process of writing and thesis of Gnostic Visions.
I guess the inspiration for the book came probably maybe a decade before. I had a very powerful religious experience that I discussed at the end of the book. And it led me on a quest to find out the truth, that I found out that there was things about God that the mainstream world wasn't really explaining or didn't really accept. And I started studying shamanism, Gnosticism, very heavily. Eventually had a number of experiences that basically led me to the research and the writing of the book.
And Gnosticism grew within the Hellenistic and fertile religious soil. What are some of the main visionary Greek traditions?
I do talk a little bit about that in the beginning. The beginning of the book is a lot of foundational research for people to kind of understand how the supernatural is contacted and has been contacted since prehistoric times. And then going from that, I started talking about really the first civilization of the West, Western civilization, the Greeks. And there's two real prominent institutions that used visions or used altered states of consciousness as important parts of their religion. the Delphic Oracle, when scientists actually just relatively recently just found that there was in fact hallucinogenic or visionary gases, an ethylene gas, from cracks underground underneath the temple, just as the ancients claimed, and that was responsible for the priestesses going into trance and perceiving the spirit of Apollo. And then the other one was the Eleusinian Mysteries, which was probably the most important religious initiatic ritual of classical times. It affected all the classical philosophers, particularly the Platonic philosophers, Plato, Imbellicus, all those. And, for a long time, everyone knew that they were secret, they were powerful, they gave some type of hope for the afterlife, some type of great vision or experience. For a long time, nobody really knew how they were being created. And then a number of researchers, Hoffman and a few others, I think in maybe the 30s or 40s, got together and basically found evidence and culminated their research saying that the kykeon, the sacred drink of the Eleusinian ritual, contained a mixture with ergot, which is basically a psychedelic or visionary fungus that grows on grain at certain times of the year. And that was responsible for the visionary experiences.
Yeah, and your book does a very good job at talking about ancient times throughout classic times on the different traditions. You go from, Zoroastrianism to Egyptian lore and so forth. What I found interesting is that you write that the human brain has really not changed in the last 40,000 years. So basically we still have the same, in our subconscious, we have the same symbols and archetypes, don't we?
Yeah, I think, the beginning part of the book, I talk about the, cave art and some of the evolution of early human culture. And, absolutely, our really mainstream society has a lot to learn from a lot of these ancient traditions, and by trying to conceal them or push them away, they're really doing a very big injustice to knowledge and to a lot of things.
You mentioned that James Robinson believed the Gnostics wrote their texts by practicing visualization, and Carl Jung mentioned meditation as one of their tools, and you give a few more examples. Yet you deny these claims, Luke. Why so?
I'm glad you said that, because I've looked around the Gnostic community quite a bit, and meditation seems to be a very big avenue that everyone's gearing towards. It's very mainstream. It's very safe. But the fact of the matter is, those experiences, while meditation is great, they do not create the same experiences that the Gnostics portray, the Sethian Gnostics and the Hermetic tradition. Now, the Hermetic tradition, the Egyptians, meditation was known about by the Egyptians. People know that. But when the Hermetic texts describe a cup, and that, angels came down and gave the cup to mankind, drinking the cup or taking the cup receives the gnosis and knowledge of God and all visions of things divine. It's telling you that there's a visionary cup that is providing this gnosis to the Hermetic initiates. And the visions that are experienced by the Hermetic priests and the Hermetic books, they're the same type of Gnostics experiences that you find in the Nag Hammadi, the Sethian Gnostics. And those type of experiences where you're traveling to higher dimensional realms and you're encountering these beings and things like that, you can't get that same type of experience, especially with the type of gnosis and the type of things that they describe and the way they deal with meditation. And the other point is if you read the Gospel of the Egyptians, it tells you a lot about Sethian Gnostic baptism rituals. And they were active group events, baptisms. And there's nowhere in there that there's any meditation going on. There's no people sitting around or anything like that.